What if I told you that a smaller, outmatched navy could defy all odds and send a larger, seemingly invincible fleet retreating? Before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, such a concept would have sounded ludicrous. Yet, over the past 4 years, Ukraine's tenacity and innovation have reshaped the naval landscape of the Black Sea, proving that strategic agility often trumps sheer numerical advantage. Let's dive into this remarkable story of resilience. When Ukraine regained its independence after the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991, it inherited a navy that, while small, was capable. However, this fleet was drastically weakened in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea, seizing or destroying about 3/4 of Ukraine's naval forces. The essence of Ukraine's remaining navy was concentrated at its southern base in Donoslav Bay, just 60 miles away from Russia's formidable Black Sea Fleet, anchored in Sevastopol, a base founded in 1783. On March 3, 2014, Russia tightened its grip by blockading Donoslav Bay, deploying the flagship cruiser, Moscow, to block the entrance. Subsequently, they scuttled their ships to obstruct escape routes, trapping 13 Ukrainian vessels inside the bay. Overwhelmed and outmatched, these ships were captured, effectively dismantling Ukraine's naval capabilities. The siege concluded on March 27 with the Russian capture of the last remaining ship, leaving Ukraine with only a single operational frigate and a few patrol boats. Yet, in the years that followed, hope emerged as the United States and NATO allies embarked on efforts to restore Ukraine's naval prowess. The vision was to create a Mosquito fleet, a formidable assortment of small, agile vessels aimed at coastal defense and NATO interoperability. By 2018, this plan was gaining traction, with the U.S. donating 2 Island-class patrol boats and orders placed for more. But then, everything changed with Russia's invasion. At the outset of the conflict, the Russian Black Sea Fleet dwarfed Ukraine's forces by a staggering 7.5 times, leaving Ukraine without corvettes, submarines, or heavy ships. The initial weeks saw devastating losses, with 27 naval ships and 18 Coast Guard vessels captured or destroyed, alongside the scuttling of Ukraine's flagship to avoid its capture. However, a pivotal moment occurred on April 14, 2022, when the Black Sea flagship, the Moscow, was struck by Ukrainian Neptune missiles, exploding and ultimately sinking. This marked a turning point. As Ukraine's defense evolved, it transformed its operational strategy and began using drones effectively. In subsequent moments, Ukrainian forces struck repeatedly at Russian naval assets, utilizing advanced drone technology to devastating effect, targeting both ships and strategic locations. The potential of Ukraine's naval forces exploded across the Black Sea. With inventive tactics and relentless determination, they redefined naval combat dynamics. As they continued to adapt, Ukrainian drones, initially seen as novelty, emerged as the spearhead of their strategy, subverting the traditional naval hierarchy and challenging the might of Russia's fleet. By 2023, Ukraine's fleet embraced an asymmetrical framework. Relying on small patrol crafts and advanced naval drones like the Magura V5. With capabilities including surveillance and combat missions, this drone was crucial to Ukraine's maritime resurgence. In early 2024, reports surfaced of this drone sinking significant Russian vessels, further cementing Ukraine's maritime resolve. As of April 2024, nearly a third of the Russian Black Sea Fleet had been lost or incapacitated. Despite enhanced Russian defenses, the agility of Ukraine's navy continues to shift the balance in the Black Sea. How long can this evolving conflict last, and what other surprises does Ukraine have in store for its much larger adversary? The unfolding saga of naval warfare challenges everything we've come to understand about power and strategy. Imagine a nation once deemed powerless, battling a titan of military might. How could a smaller force, shattered and outgunned, turn the tide against a seemingly unstoppable adversary? Before the onset of conflict, the idea that Ukraine could stand against Russia's dominant Black Sea Fleet sounded absurd. Yet, against all odds, Ukraine managed to thwart and even dismantle Russia's naval ambitions. In the aftermath of the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991, Ukraine inherited a modest navy. However, by 2014, most of it had been seized or destroyed during Russia's annexation of Crimea. The remnants included a single operational frigate and a motley collection of small patrol boats, while vast resources like naval bases and repair facilities lay in ruins. Despite this, NATO allies quickly initiated efforts to rebuild Ukraine's naval capabilities, focusing on a Mosquito fleet of rapid, agile vessels suited for coastal defense. But then, the invasion came. Russia's Black Sea Fleet dwarfed Ukraine's military might, being over 7 times larger. Within weeks, Ukrainian naval power crumbled as 27 ships were lost, including their flagship. Desperation set in, yet a spark of resilience flickered within the beleaguered forces. The tide began to shift dramatically on April 14, 2022, when Russia's proud flagship, the Moscow, sank after being struck by Ukrainian-made Neptune anti-ship missiles. Carnage erupted on board, and a fiery inferno signaled a significant blow to Russian morale. In the months that followed, drone technology became Ukraine's crucial ally. Armed with unmanned aerial vehicles, Ukraine struck swiftly. Within weeks, key Russian vessels, including Raptor-class patrol boats and landing vessels near Snake Island, fell victim to surprise attacks. The Ukrainian forces displayed newfound agility and cunning, wiping out crucial targets with a precision previously thought impossible. By October 2022, the stakes had escalated with Ukraine's audacious raid on Sevastopol. Their drones danced over the water, targeting their enemies with a lethal efficiency that bewildered their opposition. Although initially limited, their range increased, allowing strikes deep into enemy territory. The Ukrainian Navy was no longer confined to stubborn defense, they had transformed into a formidable foe striking back effectively. From 2023 onwards, the Magura V5 drone emerged as a pivotal figure in the Black Sea conflict. Priced at around $273,000, these drones could achieve remarkable feats, from reconnaissance to direct combat. Measuring 18 feet long, this multi-role unmanned surface vehicle floated effortlessly through the waters, delivering devastating charges against its enemies. The ability of the Magura V5 to operate in swarm formations, using decoys to overwhelm enemy defenses, proved revolutionary. On February 1, 2024, footage captured the sinking of a Russian corvette, showcasing Ukraine's evolution into an unexpected naval power. The tide had irrevocably shifted, with almost a third of Russia's fleet either sunk or rendered unserviceable. As the conflict raged on, the dynamic of naval warfare itself was rewriting. Ukraine's effective use of drones and innovative tactics raised burning questions. Is this the dawn of a new era in modern warfare? What does the future hold as these tactics spread across the globe? The world watched with bated breath, witnessing a transformative shift in the balance of naval power. In a remarkable twist of fate, the tide of naval warfare has dramatically shifted. Once, the very idea of Ukraine successfully countering the might of the Russian Black Sea Fleet seemed absurd. However, as the ongoing conflict unfolded, it became clear that sheer strength alone could not dominate the currents of innovation and agility. Ukraine's naval power was severely compromised after Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, capturing much of the Ukrainian fleet. Fast forward to 2022, when Russia's initial invasion appeared to sway the advantage overwhelmingly in their favor, boasting naval forces at least 7.5 times larger than Ukraine's. But then came the moment that would change everything. A devastating blow struck on April 14, 2022, when Ukraine's forces unleashed a storm of Neptune anti-ship missiles, sinking the flagship of the Russian fleet, the Moscow. The explosion echoed out, leaving both sides reeling. The battle not only awakened a revitalized spirit within the Ukrainian Navy but also unveiled the effectiveness of modern asymmetric warfare. Utilizing an arsenal of drones, Ukraine refined its strategic approach, recognizing that it couldn't engage Russia head-on with traditional naval power. Instead, they embarked on a journey of transformation, creating an agile fleet comprised of nimble patrol craft and, crucially, advanced drone technology. By 2023, this reimagined navy had become a real force to be reckoned with. On May 24, Ukrainian sea drones dealt a significant blow to the Russian intelligence ship, Ivan Kors, spiraling the port of Novorossiysk into chaos as Russian vessels scattered in disarray. It was not just a tactical success, it was a statement of intent. Ukraine was no longer merely on the defensive. Yet, the most shocking developments were yet to unfold. As Ukraine's strategy evolved, they unleashed multiple waves of drones on September 13, severely damaging the Russian naval ships stationed at Sevastopol, and an entire fleet began to tremble. With the artillery of tomorrow, drone swarms capable of performing strategic assaults, Ukrainian forces redefined the very nature of maritime warfare. As we look ahead, will the Magura V5 drones, capable of 500-mile strikes and stealth operations, become the new backbone of Ukraine's naval strategy? Or will the Russians find a way to adapt and retaliate against this emerging threat? The pulse of impending conflict races onward, leaving all guessing at the unfolding drama of the Black Sea. In the shadowy depths of maritime conflict, a new strategy emerged in Ukraine's struggle for survival against the formidable Russian naval presence. The stakes were staggeringly high, and yet Ukraine, with its fleet reduced to a mere fraction of what it once was, took daring steps that would surprise the naval world. Armed with creativity and resilience, the nation ventured into uncharted waters. Previously, the Ukrainian Navy fought with dwindling resources, leaving major ports in a flurry. Russian vessels scrambled to avoid perceived threats. September 13 marked a turning point when Ukrainian forces launched an audacious aerial strike against Sevastopol using Storm Shadow missiles. The results were shocking: a landing ship lay devastated, a patrol boat sunk, and a Russian submarine crippled beyond repair. The cunning tactics employed were a wake-up call to the Russian fleet, unveiling the potent capabilities of Ukrainian innovation. While the world watched, Ukraine escalated its boldness. They targeted Russia's shipbuilding capabilities in Crimea on November 4, launching a brutal missile strike that sent shockwaves through the Russian defenses. An explosion rocked the Karakhat-class corvette Askold, rattling their confidence and leaving devastation in its wake. Onlookers would gasp at the sheer intensity of the blasts, with flames illuminating the night sky. The staggering number of casualties, 74 lives lost, reminded all that naval warfare had changed forever. As the calendar flipped to 2024, the tides of battle shifted in favor of Ukraine's revitalized naval strategy. At the heart of this transformation was the Magura V5, a multi-purpose unmanned surface vehicle redefining the rules of engagement. Costing a mere $273,000 each, these drones matched versatility with lethal efficiency. Seafaring like phantoms, they cruised stealthily across vast distances, each capable of loitering beyond the enemy's grasp. Compact yet lethal, the Magura V5 was 18 feet long, weighing around 2,200 pounds, and could deliver explosive payloads with devastating precision. Its range stretched an impressive 500 miles, bringing Crimea directly into the crosshairs of Ukrainian forces. With a water jet propulsion system, it darted through the waves at 48 miles per hour, a fleeting whisper of danger before striking with deadly intent. This was not merely a drone, it was a harbinger of a new era in naval warfare. Captured video footage stirred anticipation when the Magura V5 was seen sinking the Tarantal-class corvette or 334 Ivanovets in the strategically vital Donoslav Bay. The rhythm of war and technology danced together as the Magura V5 drones embraced the sea, inflicting unexpected destruction upon their unsuspecting targets. Meanwhile, Russians fortified their defenses. Layers of nets and patrol boats crowded the harbors, but could they truly outsmart the evolving Ukrainian tactics? By April 2024, the Russian Navy faced a staggering blow: almost a third of their fleet had been disabled or destroyed. The question hung heavy in the air: could sheer force withstand the tide of innovation? What lay ahead for the Black Sea and for global naval warfare as a whole remained uncertain but undeniably thrilling. Ukraine's resilience had ignited a spark that could change the future of maritime conflict forever. The Black Sea has become a stage for a remarkable conflict, one where innovation outsmarts brute strength. As Russia launched its assault on Ukraine, few would have believed that a smaller Ukrainian naval force could push back the colossal might of Russia's Black Sea fleet. Yet, against all odds, since the invasion began, Ukraine has managed to retain the upper hand in the region. In the early days of the war, Ukraine's navy was severely diminished, having lost much of its fleet during Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. With only one operational frigate left and a range of small patrol boats, it seemed unlikely that Ukraine could hold its ground. Russian forces quickly took control, capturing or destroying as many as 45 Ukrainian naval vessels by the end of the first month of war. The last vestiges of Ukraine's navy dwindled as their flagship was scuttled to prevent its capture. However, in a stunning turn of events, the balance shifted dramatically when the flagship of the Russian fleet, the Moskva, was struck by Ukrainian Neptune missiles on April 14, 2022. A fire erupted on board, culminating in the ship's sinking, a historic loss that echoed through naval history and marked the beginning of a relentless Ukrainian counteroffensive. As the waters of the Black Sea churned with conflict, Ukraine unleashed a barrage of drone attacks, marking their strategic shift toward asymmetrical warfare. These small, nimble vessels became the backbone of a new fleet, keenly adapting to the realities of modern naval combat. By 2023, the tide had turned decidedly in favor of Ukraine. Utilizing advanced technologies, drones became devastating tools that sunk ships and disrupted enemy plans. The appearance of the Magura V5 drone, capable of sophisticated combat tasks, underscored Ukraine's innovative approach. Its stealthy design, speed, and agility shifted the paradigm of naval warfare, allowing Ukraine to engage targets deep in enemy territory. Each successful mission tore into the fabric of Russia's naval power, and with every strike, the psychological edge shifted. As the Ukrainian forces expanded their operations, Russia scrambled to bolster its defenses. However, fortified positions and additional layers of security could not shield Russia from the onslaught. Reports of Ukrainian naval drones wreaking havoc within hours painted a bleak portrait for the beleaguered Russian fleet. The undeniable humiliation of their forces began to ripple through the ranks, raising questions about the sustainability of their presence in the Black Sea. By April 2024, nearly a third of Russia's naval assets had been rendered ineffective. One could hardly overlook the bitter irony, and once mighty fleet retreating headlong to avoid the very shadows of their adversary. With their warships forced from their bases in Sevastopol, the remnants of the fleet were driven to take shelter in Novorossiysk. A once feared naval power, now left scrambling for safety, the spirits of their sailors dampened by the relentless strikes from above and below. Looking ahead, Ukraine's trajectory seems set on rewriting the rules of engagement. As they hone their strategies of kinetic sanctions and naval offensives, the question arises, will the Black Sea remain a stronghold for Russian forces, or will this dynamic battlefield slip further from their grasp? The tides are certainly turning in favor of innovation, and for the Russian Navy, each passing day deepens their potential for retreat. As the situation unfolds, only time will tell how the balance of power will ultimately be redefined in this pivotal theater of war. In a remarkable twist of fortune, an underdog nation turned the tides of maritime warfare. Before the war, many dismissed the idea that Ukraine could ever compete with Russia's formidable naval fleet in the Black Sea, which was 6 to 7 times larger. Yet, the courage of Ukraine's forces reshaped expectations. As we delve into this story, prepare yourself for a shocking question: how did a smaller fleet manage to challenge a giant, turning military norms on their head? When Ukraine regained independence after the Soviet Union's fall, it inherited a modest yet capable navy. However, by 2014, much of its fleet had been taken or rendered inoperative by Russia during the annexation of Crimea. As tensions rose, the mighty Russian Black Sea Fleet, centered around the Sevastopol naval base, began its blockade, limiting Ukraine's ability to maneuver. On March 3, 2014, the missiles of the flagship, the Moscow, forbade Ukrainian ships from escaping the Dolislav Bay. The siege was merciless, and the last captured vessel fell on March 27, wiping out almost all naval capability and leaving Ukraine vulnerable. But then resilience sparked innovation. In the years that followed, NATO and the US aided Ukraine in crafting a nimble Mosquito fleet composed of small, agile vessels. As time progressed, Ukraine transformed its naval strategy, emphasizing speedy patrol boats, naval drones, and a strategy of surprise. By the war's second year, an unexpected shift occurred. On April 14, 2022, Ukrainian Neptune missiles struck the flagship Moscow, igniting a blaze and marking a pivotal moment in naval history. As the conflict escalated, Ukraine's forces began employing drones in a way that had never been seen before, a groundbreaking strategy that leveled the overwhelming Russian numbers. Drones, once thought of as mere surveillance tools, were reimagined as weapons of war. In a shocking twist, these unmanned aerial vehicles not only targeted naval vessels but also became instrumental in air warfare, achieving a historic first by shooting down a Russian fighter jet. Fast forward to 2023, the Ukrainian Navy redefined its capabilities with the introduction of the Magura V5 drones. These 18-foot marvels of engineering were designed for swift and stealthy combat. With a payload capacity of over 700 pounds and a range of 500 miles, they effectively bridged the gap between strategy and execution. Their impact was felt immediately, from coastal assaults to deep strikes within Russian territory, challenging the very heart of the Russian war machine. As 2024 dawned, the stakes became even higher. The Magura V-5 drones sank several Russian vessels, showcasing the vulnerabilities of a once dominant fleet. Despite increased defenses around Sevastopol, Ukraine's innovative tactics continued to dismantle Russian naval power. As of April 2024, Russian losses included nearly a third of their Black Sea fleet. What had begun as an unthinkable dream had transformed into a harrowing reality for Russia, a looming naval catastrophe ignited by Ukraine's unexpected resilience and ingenuity. The undeniable truth stands: in warfare, sheer numbers do not dictate victory. It's the strategy, the unexpected twists, and the sheer will that redefine the battleground. As we witness this evolution, we're faced with a powerful question: what does the future hold for naval warfare as small fleets continue to challenge immense powers? Keep watching as we explore the echoes of this conflict and the lessons learned along the way. In the latent shadows of the Black Sea, a fierce naval battle unfolds, one that few expected to happen. Who could have predicted that the tenacious spirit of Ukraine would thwart the might of Russia's colossal naval fleet? As tensions escalated with bold moves and strategic ingenuity, the narrative of the war shifted. Could Ukraine's agility outmatch Russia's brute force? Flashback to 2014, the crisp sea air dances with the sounds of crashing waves as Ukrainian naval vessels lay anchored in Dalaslav Bay. Yet, that calm was fleeting. The Russian fleet, a formidable force with a robust presence, established a blockade. The flagship missile cruiser, the Moscow, claimed its territory, intimidating Ukrainian efforts and trapping them like fish in a net. The clang of metal and muffled shouts filled the air as Ukrainian sailors faced near certain capture. Despite the odds, the Ukrainian Navy refused to fade silently into the night. Fast forward to April 2022, a fierce storm brews over the Black Sea. The clash of artillery and the roar of aerial drones filled a void. The flagship of the Russian fleet, the Moscow, bursts into flames after a direct hit from Ukrainian Neptune missiles, its grandeur now reduced to sinking wreckage. The trajectory of naval warfare shifts as Ukraine harnesses the power of innovative weapons, reclaiming its sovereignty with every strike. As summer approaches, the strike capabilities expand. Armed with Bayraktar TB2 drones, Ukrainian forces finally reach deep into the heart of enemy territory on Snake Island. As the sun rises, so does the resounding hope that their once smaller fleet can outmaneuver and outwit the enemy. But the questions linger: can innovation sustain this tide? Can Ukraine continue to adapt? Jump to 2023, echoes of engagement reverberate through the bay while the whispers of high-stakes drama unfold. Ukrainian naval drones, particularly the ingenious Magura V-5, are redefining combat. The eerie silence before the strike is electrifying, the hum of technology as these drones glide over the water, poised to unleash chaos. As Ukrainian courage meets cutting-edge technology, the fate of naval dominance hangs in the balance. The air thickens with anticipation as disputes of power linger. One late February night in 2024, visual reports emerge of Ukraine's Magura V-5 as successfully claiming the sinking of a Russian corvette. The crew sleeps uneasily, haunted by the clangor of defeat. Each victory becomes a paradox, forcing the Russian Navy to recklessly re-evaluate its standing. As tensions in the Black Sea simmer and the celestial bodies watch closely, a new chapter dawns. Russia, stirred from its stupor, begins to innovate. Spearheaded by President Vladimir Putin's ambitious plan for naval expansion, they strive to reclaim lost prestige. But can they truly learn from their mistakes, or will they remain hopelessly outpaced? The drums of war echo ominously, suggesting that the balance of power is far from settled. The haunting question lingers: who truly holds the advantage in this ever-changing theater of naval warfare? With Ukraine's creativity fueling their defense against a larger foe. The stakes have never been higher, leaving spectators breathless as this saga continues to unfold under the gaze of history's watchful eye. Before delving into the gripping tale of naval warfare, let's reflect on a surprising fact: in a conflict where sheer size often trumps strength, can innovation truly shift the tides? As the world bore witness, a smaller force wielding clever tactics can inflict significant damage, a lesson the Black Sea has come to teach. In the lead-up to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, few could have anticipated that Ukraine would successfully repel the formidable Russian navy in the Black Sea. Yet, as the conflict unfolded, this unlikely scenario became a reality. Nearly 4 years into this war, Ukraine not only held its ground but managed to dominate the Black Sea against overwhelming odds. How did this happen? Ukraine's naval story began in 1991, after gaining independence from the Soviet Union. While the country inherited a modest naval fleet, the 2014 annexation of Crimea saw Russia seize 3/4 of it, leaving Ukraine with a mere shadow of its former capabilities. Among its operational forces, only a single frigate remained, surrounded by small patrol boats, as the Russians blockaded the southern naval base in Donbas Bay. The year 2022 marked a turning point as the war kicked into high gear. Russia's Black Sea fleet was at least 7 times larger than Ukraine's, completely overshadowing it. Early battles saw numerous Ukrainian ships either captured or destroyed. However, a remarkable transformation was underway beneath the surface. On April 14, 2022, the flagship of the Russian fleet, the Moscow, was struck by Ukrainian Neptune missiles. A shocking setback for the aggressor that signaled a shift in the war's dynamics. Ukraine's remarkable adaptability became apparent as it ramped up its use of drones in naval operations. By 2023, Ukraine's battered navy had shifted to a fleet of agile, asymmetric forces. Small patrol vessels and advanced naval drones became integral to its strategy, striking fear into Russian maritime operations. The capability to launch attacks directly from land with drones multiplied Ukraine's reach, marking a significant evolution in naval warfare. Fast forward to early 2024, where the innovative Magura V5 drones emerged as game changers. These versatile unmanned surface vehicles, with capabilities ranging from surveillance to combat missions, became synonymous with Ukraine's naval resilience. Deployed effectively, they sank the Tarantal-class corvette or 334 Ivanovets and severely inflicted damage upon Russian naval units. As Ukraine asserted itself in the Black Sea, Russia scrambled to counter the emerging drone threat, fortifying its defenses in Sevastopol. Contrarily, despite their efforts, by April 2024, Russia suffered substantial losses, including damage to crucial vessels, as a third of its Black Sea fleet lay disabled or sunk. As a new era of naval warfare unfolds, the implications of Ukraine's strategic ingenuity echo far beyond the Black Sea. Naval leaders worldwide are taking notes, rethinking their strategies in light of Ukraine's UAV success. Nations such as China, Iran, and North Korea keenly observe, developing their own drone capabilities influenced by this intense conflict. The arms race in naval technology is escalating. Imagine naval fleets equipped with small, lethal drones capable of harassing even the most powerful warships. The stage is set for new maritime confrontations as armies adapt and innovate in response to unexpected threats. The tides of war can turn swiftly. Will the next chapter in naval warfare bring even more astonishing developments? Only time will tell. In an unexpected and dramatic twist of fate, Ukraine has proven that innovation can outmaneuver sheer military might. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the concept that this smaller nation could send the formidable Russian navy fleeing from the Black Sea seemed nothing short of ludicrous. Yet, here we are nearly 4 years later, and against all odds, Ukraine has maintained control. So, how did this happen? Following the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine inherited a modest yet capable navy. However, during Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, much of its naval strength was either confiscated or destroyed. The remnants of Ukraine's naval forces were cornered at the strategic Dolislav Bay, while the bulk of Russia's fleet occupied the nearby Sevastopol base, historically a powerful naval hub since its inception in 1783. The blockade began on March 3, 2014, with Russia's flagship, the missile cruiser Moscow, blocking crucial exits. The situation escalated, leading to the capture of 13 trapped Ukrainian ships by March 27, effectively dismantling Ukraine's naval forces. By the end of the siege, just one operational frigate remained, alongside a handful of small patrol boats. In the years that followed, Western allies, particularly the United States, initiated efforts to rejuvenate Ukraine's navy. This led to the creation of a Mosquito Fleet, a strategic force consisting of fast, small vessels with the aim of coastal defense and quick collaboration with NATO forces. Progress was steady, with initial donations of patrol boats in 2018 setting the groundwork. Then, the unthinkable happened: Russia invaded. At the onset, the scales were heavily tipped in Russia's favor, boasting a Black Sea fleet 7.5 times larger than Ukraine's with no corvettes, submarines, or aircraft carriers to defend itself. The initial phase of the conflict saw Ukraine losing at least 27 naval ships and 18 Coast Guard vessels in a matter of weeks, leading to the scuttling of its own flagship to evade capture. However, the tide shifted dramatically on April 14, 2022, when the Moscow, once seen as the pride of the Russian fleet, was struck down by Ukrainian Neptune anti-ship missiles, an unprecedented blow that ignited hope and rallied the Ukrainian forces. What followed was a series of daring attacks that showcased Ukraine's innovative spirit. From drone strikes that decimated Russia's patrol boats near Snake Island to the sinking of critical vessels in the Black Sea, Ukraine began rewriting the rules of naval warfare. The combination of land-launched missiles and agile maritime drones transformed Ukraine's naval capability, allowing them to strike not just ships but also pivotal ports in Crimea, further fracturing Russia's naval dominance. By 2023, the Ukrainian Navy had adapted to focus on asymmetrical warfare, emphasizing small, fast patrol craft supplemented by an expanding fleet of drones. Notably, the Magura V5 drone emerged as a game-changer, capable of executing operations within a vast maritime range and equipped for kamikaze-style assaults on naval targets. The impact of Ukraine's agile and innovative naval approach has exceeded expectations, with significant victories that have decimated Russian assets in the Black Sea. As we move forward, the stakes have never been higher. Will Russia's efforts to reclaim its lost prestige lead to an escalation or pivot in the dynamics of the conflict? With whispers of a $100 billion naval expansion plan echoing through military corridors in Moscow, the world stands on the edge of their seats, questioning what the next chapter in this maritime struggle will reveal. The clash between innovation and tradition has sparked a new technological arms race across the globe. With countries such as China, Iran, and North Korea observing closely, there's a palpable tension in the air. Can Ukraine's adaptability secure its future, or will Russia's resurgence turn the tide? The landscape of naval warfare is shifting, one that could reshape perceptions of power at sea forever. As we delve into a new era of robotics and unmanned systems, could a mere swarm of naval drones become the harbinger of change in an ever-evolving battlefield? The question remains tantalizingly unanswered, as the narrative of Ukraine's struggle unfolds with each passing day. How a daring strategy turned the tide in naval warfare. In a tale of naval warfare that seemed unimaginable before, Ukraine stunned the world by taking on a far larger Russian fleet in the Black Sea. How did this once underdog force rise against all odds? It all began with the seizure of Ukrainian naval assets during Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, leaving Ukraine with a mere shadow of a fleet. Despite their diminished capabilities, Ukraine steeled itself for the long fight ahead. The Ukrainian Navy, inheriting a small yet capable force post-Soviet Union, had much of its power obliterated by Russian forces. Outclassed, with the Russian Black Sea Fleet boasting numbers at least 7.5 times greater, the Ukrainian commanders realized they faced a formidable enemy. But the turning point came dramatically on April 14, 2022, when Ukraine launched a daring strike against the Russian cruiser Moscow. After a direct hit from Ukrainian Neptune missiles, the ship went up in flames, marking a historic moment as the first cruiser lost in combat since the Falklands War. The haunting echoes of explosions filled the air, a heavy reminder of the capabilities now arming the Ukrainian fleet. Fast forward to 2023, and Ukraine engineered a strategy of asymmetrical warfare, introducing cutting-edge naval drones, the Magura V5. This unmanned surface vehicle, capable of reaching speeds of 48 miles per hour and operating within a staggering range of 500 miles, turned the Black Sea into a battleground of innovation. Each drone, sleek with a carbon fiber hull, carried up to 705 pounds of explosive charge, making them perfect for surprise attacks. As the drone program flourished, shocking footage emerged on February 1, 2024, of Ukrainian strikes claiming the sinking of the Tarantul-class corvette Ivanovets. Following this victory, weeks passed, and Magura V-5 drones dealt further blows, sending the landing ship Caesar Kunikov spiraling beneath the waves. Sea spray and the chaos in the air symbolized a new chapter in naval warfare, as the Russians struggled against a foe they had underestimated. Alarmed, the Russian Navy scrambled to reinforce defenses around Sevastopol, layering nets and patrols, yet by April 2024, reports surfaced that nearly one-third of their fleet had been lost. Imagine heavy waves crashing against the hulls of a fleet besieged, the scent of salt water mixed with the smoke of destroyed ships hung as a grim reminder of defeat. Did the Russian commanders truly grasp the storm that was brewing on their seas? With the Ukrainian Navy transformed into an agile, cutting-edge force, one question loomed large: how far can innovation and determination stretch against sheer numerical might? As the tides of war shift dramatically, the world holds its breath, wondering what the future of naval conflict might entail. Will Ukraine's daring strategy not only redefine its own fate but also alter the fundamentals of naval warfare forever? In a stunning twist of fate, a smaller force has outmaneuvered a seemingly unstoppable giant. Before the conflict erupted, many dismissed the idea that Ukraine could drive the might of the Russian Navy from the Black Sea. Yet, as 4 years of war unfolded, Ukraine not only held its ground but began to reclaim its naval sovereignty. How did the underdog manage to shift the tides in their favor? The Ukrainian Navy, which once teetered on the brink of annihilation, has undergone a remarkable transformation. Post-Soviet independence left them with a modest fleet, and the annexation of Crimea in 2014 saw the loss of nearly three-quarters of their naval power. The core of their fleet, stationed at the strategic naval base in Donoslav Bay, found itself under siege as Russian forces claimed dominance over the Black Sea. Within weeks, Ukrainian ships became pawns, captured or sunk in the chaos of the blockade. But the story didn't end there. With support from NATO allies, a new vision took shape. The plan, to create a Mosquito fleet, a force of small, nimble vessels designed for coastal defense and alliance integration. However, the clock was ticking. The Russian fleet loomed large, outnumbering Ukraine's naval forces by a staggering 7.5 to 1. As Ukrainian ships fell victim to Russian aggression in the opening weeks of the invasion, hope seemed all but lost. Then came the turning point on April 14, 2022, when the flagship of the Russian fleet, the Moskva, ignited and sank after being hit by Ukrainian Neptune missiles. This unprecedented defeat sent shockwaves through military ranks and tilted momentum towards Ukraine. Fast forward to 2023, the Ukrainian Navy began adopting drones as a key strategy. By the end of the year, their adaptation had revolutionized warfare. The Magura V-5, a cutting-edge unmanned surface vehicle, emerged as a game-changer. With speeds reaching 48 miles per hour and an operational range of 500 miles, this drone could strike deep within enemy territory, creating a harrowing atmosphere of fear for Russian ships. The Magura V-5 wasn't just fast, it was lethal. Carrying a payload of explosive charges or even modifications for guided missiles, it became a relentless predator in the Black Sea. On February 1, 2024, video footage emerged claiming to show the destruction of the Tarantal-class corvette R-334 Ivanovets. This bold strike was just the beginning of a devastating series of assaults against Russia's naval fleet. In response, Russian forces scrambled to fortify their defenses. By April 2024, they had constructed intricate barriers and deployed a constellation of patrol boats, yet the threats from Ukrainian drones were relentless. Despite these efforts, as the Ukrainian onslaught continued to dispatch vessels, including submarines, the Russian Navy found itself crippled. What does this unprecedented naval conflict say about the future of warfare? As positions shift and the landscape of military power evolves, one thing is clear: where innovation and agility reign, sheer numbers falter. Will Ukraine's audacious strategies redefine the rules of combat forever? The answers lie on the horizon. Shrouded in uncertainty and anticipation, as each day unfolds in this harrowing saga of resilience, hope, and unexpected victories. Before diving into the remarkable story of naval warfare in the Black Sea, let's reflect on an astonishing fact. Who could have foreseen that a smaller, less recognized navy could hold its ground against one of the largest fleets in the world? This is the story of Ukraine's ingenious rise from near obliteration to formidable defender of its waters. As the war in Ukraine unfolded, many assumed Russia's overwhelming naval might would dominate the Black Sea. But remarkably, just weeks into the conflict, Ukraine not only managed to retain control but propelled a shift in the tides of naval warfare itself. How did a small nation, with a navy decimated by previous assaults, turn the tables against a seemingly invincible Russian fleet? Ukraine inherited a modest naval force after the Soviet Union's collapse, yet, following Russia's annexation of Crimea, most of it was lost. By 2014, Ukraine's maritime presence was significantly weakened, confined largely to small patrol boats. As the Russian Black Sea Fleet blockaded Ukrainian ports in a show of force, hopes dwindled for a comeback. But during the years that followed, as the US and NATO allies began to assist in rebuilding Ukraine's naval assets, the focus shifted towards developing a Mosquito fleet outfitted for rapid, coastal operations. Expectations were carefully managed. Ukraine could not go toe-to-toe with the Russian behemoth on equal terms. Then in early 2022, when the invasion escalated, Ukraine faced devastating losses, 27 naval vessels captured or destroyed in a matter of weeks. Yet, amid despair, the resolve strengthened. The fateful day of April 14, 2022, saw the sinking of the Russian flagship Moskva, igniting hope in Ukrainian hearts. The tides began to turn as Ukraine adopted an innovative strategy focused on drone warfare, overcoming numerical disadvantages through clever tactics. What had started as a desperate struggle quickly evolved into a series of bold, audacious strikes. By late 2022, Ukrainian forces showcased capabilities that stunned the world. Drone attacks on Russian vessels became an everyday reality. As 2023 unfolded, these robotic sentinels scoured the waters, engaging with Russian assets. That year would go down as a revolutionary chapter in the evolution of naval combat. A Ukrainian drone managed to bring down a Russian fighter jet, undoubtedly a watershed moment. This act not only fuzzed the boundaries of naval capabilities but also shocked the global defense community. Amid cheers from Ukrainian forces, one Russian crew went missing, while another narrowly escaped with an emergency ejection. Ukraine's ambition did not wane. With strategic intelligence, Ukrainian naval drones went on to strike key logistical targets, paralyzing Russian oil exports vital for their war machine. These bold strikes, made possible by innovative drone technology, underscored a new approach to combat. Could Ukraine redefine the future of naval warfare? As Russia fortified its naval defenses in desperation, one craft emerged as a game-changer, the Magura V5, capable of autonomous operations and equipped with advanced targeting systems. This ultra-modern drone could reach into the depths of the Black Sea, striking Russian vessels with surgical precision. February 1, 2024, highlighted the prowess of the Magura V5 as it claimed another attack. Image conveyed both jubilation and dread as Ukrainian forces announced the sinking of Ivanovets, a prominent ship. Will this drone warfare permanently alter the balance in naval engagements? Despite Russia's attempts to shore up defenses, Ukraine pressed on, relentless in its quest to regain control of the Black Sea. With each operation, as Ukrainian ingenuity met warfare technology, an indomitable spirit echoed across the waters. The drone strikes continued to trouble the Russian fleet, igniting fears that their previous might was now under threat. How will Russia respond to this wave of unyielding Ukrainian resilience? As we look toward the future, the question remains, has the Black Sea truly become a battleground for the new wave of naval warfare? The dramatic transformations in Ukraine speak to the relentless pursuit of innovation in warfare where creativity can indeed trump raw might.